experience your vivid mind's eye, where you can visualize things very well. Who here has a poor visual memory? And I'm like that as well. So we've got Molly, we've got you as well. So Molly, can you tell us, what did you imagine when I mentioned the beach?
I mean, I live on a beach, so I had a very clear picture of what I knew, but I was not imagining anything new.
Okay. I probably have aphantasia, and similar to you, really struggle to visualize anything. And here we have an image of a man with a cloud in front of his face because he's got nothing. And the inability to generate images in your mind's eye is called aphantasia, and it's another form of blindness when you think about it in your mind's eye. And AI, working in accessibility as well as AI, has made me rethink the fields of accessibility as well as the field of artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is an attempt to try and understand sensory input as well as cognitive processing and producing generative output just like a human being does. And when you think about disability, what is disability other than a disruption in sensory input, cognitive processing, and generative output? So think about that for a second. Everything that we're trying to do in artificial intelligence can really be improved when we're thinking about people with disabilities. And if you've seen lately about some of the things people are talking about when it comes to AI, they'll talk about things like automated speech recognition, which generates automated captions. They'll think about visual recognition, which can generate automated alt text, and hopefully very soon automated audio description. And then you've got text-to-speech, which can be great for people that might need to have their voices cloned and be able to generate their voices. And it made me think, what if we start to rethink accessibility from the sense of trying to understand the different abilities and senses that everybody has, and focus AI researchers on the fields of disability, so that as they're building their technology, they are testing with people with disabilities. It's going to improve the models considerably. Has anyone heard of anauralia? No. Anauralia is the inability to have an inner monologue. So some people, just like we talked about the inability to visualize something in your mind's eye, it's the inability to have a monologue. Does anybody here not have an inner monologue? It's pretty rare. But it does happen. And what's interesting is if you're doing artificial intelligence, if you're focusing on these little differences, you're going to learn a lot about what you're doing when you're building artificial intelligence. And one example is, I have a friend who is a CODA, a child of deaf adults. And he's heard since birth. However, he thinks visually because his mother tongue is American Sign Language. And so this is just one of these tiny little details that when you're trying to emulate, you're using artificial intelligence to try and emulate human beings, you're not going to be thinking about how to build models that are useful for different kinds of people unless you speak to people with disabilities. Color perception is another one that's really interesting. Anybody know why monitors, have you heard of RGB, red, green, blue? Yes. Do you know why monitors are RGB? No. All right. What was that?
The root colors.
Who said that? I couldn't see. Yes.
They're the root colors, the most basic colors.
Yeah, so they're the primary colors, and it's because most people have 3 primary colors that they can see because they've got 3 color codes. And I liked your answer, so I'm going to give you $1.
I'm fundraising. This is a big step forward.
Awesome. But did you know that women actually have a backup color cone, and in rare cases, some women actually express all 4 color cones, and they therefore have 4 primary colors. And this is a condition that is called tetrachromacy. And we can talk about disabilities where you're looking at what does the average person have, and if the average person doesn't have an ability or has some kind of impairment compared to the average, we'll call it a disability. But what about tetrachromacy? Women that have this, and it's only in women, can see 100 million colors, whereas the rest of us that are tetrachromats can see a maximum of 1 million colors. And interestingly enough, the retina displays can show 1 billion colors, so can 8K, and nonetheless, because it's based on RGB technology, nobody is able to, it comes out flat to tetrachromats because it is RGB based. So this is another example where you can push technology further by testing with people with disabilities. Some of you may figure out where I'm going with this. This is a question here. Do words or numbers evoke specific colors or tastes for you? There's $1 in it for whoever says yes, but please don't lie. Do we have?
Margaret wants to try. Okay.
Can you see any colors do you associate numbers or letters with colors?
Well, my boss has just told me that I do, so.
Oh.
But no, I do not.
No, okay. Usually there's at least 1 or 2 in the audience, and this is called synesthesia, but at one talk where I gave this in, this black and white slide, one person raised their hands, they're like, yes, I know what you're getting at here. There are fireworks coming out of this black and white slide and color streaks, and he just described something incredible. And this is the kind of thing, I wasn't prepared for that. Everybody in the audience was completely shocked. I gave him $5, not $1, and it was just incredible. And what synesthesia really is, does anybody know? Yes, Ted.
It's when you taste colors, you see sounds. It's when your senses, I forgot to wait. It's when you taste colors, you see sounds. It's when your senses overlap.
Yes, cross-functional is $1. It's can somebody help to get this over to Ted, please? Thank you. It is cross-sensory. You're having one sense, even though the color cones are not actually activated, they actually do get activated by some other means. And a good way to show this is a chart with 5s and 2s, all in black. But people that are synesthetes, they identify specific colors, specific letters or numbers to colors, and it could be taste as well. And so here's another slide where the 2s are in red and the 5s are in green. And what's really interesting too is because these patterns kind of come out at you if you have synesthesia, your memory tends to be much better. So all of these little examples, there's probably hundreds of them. I've taken a 45-minute presentation and turned it into 15 minutes, so I just gave you like a few of these. But there's a lot more that you can do, and there's lots of reasons why studying different kind of people with their abilities is going to power the future of technology. But in addition to that, as you see here, there's a lot of companies here working on BCIs. There's a gentleman over here wearing a cognition device, and it says, "My name is Chris," and he's using his brain to control the screen and able to communicate. And when you think about it, only tech companies that are working with people with disabilities are going to be able to create a great brain-computer interface. Because how are you going to do it with general population? You absolutely need to work with people with disabilities. So this is really the future. Sensory substitution, anyone know what that is? Yes, sir, you. Yes, we'll get you a mic.
Sensory substitution devices are software, some kind of device that you can use to, like for example, visual elements can be converted into sound based off of some sort of algorithm, and so you can do that for different types of senses. So haptics or visuals or auditory. Maybe we do this for the James Webb Telescope.
Let's hear more about that.
Oh, we can't see different radio waves and or the different types of light that they're getting from the telescope, and so people turn it into visuals that look pretty. and that's kind of the sensory substitution experience.
Yeah, very good. That's $1.
All right.
So, over here we have a picture of the BrainPort, and the BrainPort uses sensory substitution where they have a camera mounted. I don't know if anybody here has used it, but there's a camera mounted on glasses, and it streams digital data to what they call a lollipop. And it's only for, I wanted to try it, but they said you're not blind and you need FDA approval. But if you're blind, you can actually use this device and see through your tongue. And that's where one sense substitutes for another sense. And there's also, some of you may have seen the TED Talk with David Eagleman, where there's a haptic vest worn, and it streams audio data from the iPhone to haptic touches on people's backs, and someone who's deaf is able to actually hear through a haptic touch on their back. So this is what's coming. This is the future of technology. And then I'll just do one other example. Has anyone seen Humane, the TED Talk on Humane? Yes, sir. In the back. The Paralympian in the back. Tell us what you saw, what it is.
Basically, it's like a computer body kind of. I can't even explain it, but basically they're trying to make devices like non-visual. Am I correct now?
More or less, they've just come out with a little bit more information. So it's a pin. They released it in a fashion show, and it's a pin that projects a user interface on the palm, but it also does use similar to like Alexa or Siri, where you can talk to it and it uses AI to communicate. So it's definitely a super interesting new wearable. And what I think is going to become, what I think is going to be happening. Oh wait, can't leave off your $1, so we'll get you that. What's definitely coming is we're going to see BCIs working for everybody. We're going to see haptics being an input device, and we're going to see that AI will transform, for example, from one language to another, from one input to another. So for example, if you're blind, you need all of your information to be verbal, so it will translate information to be verbal, or if you're deaf, it will translate it into visuals. And if you're deaf-blind, you will be able to have haptics to communicate with you. And so your real life will be generated in real time by artificial intelligence. And this is the future. AI will augment all of our abilities. Thank you.